The last 18 months have been some of the craziest economic times that most of us can remember. Everything seems to be going up in value, and even with maybe double-digit inflation, it seems like so many of the values of our favorite things have gone up by even more than that. Houses, watches, cars, and things like that are all skyrocketing. But as we see some of those markets starting to cool, interest rates climbing, and some other warning signs that winter may be coming, it all begs the question of what's going to happen to the values of all of our things. And what we talk a lot about here is the value of collector cars, sports cars, exotic cars, the whole car market in general. And so I thought today I would rub my crystal ball a little bit and talk a little bit about what we might be looking forward to over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But before I do that, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends just celebrated their 3rd anniversary as one of the top RPG games out there. But seriously, this game started strong from the very beginning and has never slowed down. The thing that really blows my mind is that even after establishing themselves as a leading mobile and PC game, they didn't allow themselves to rest on their laurels, and they just kept adding new content and game modes every couple of months. Just check out some of the amazing things that have happened in the game during those years. An amazing addition to the game is the Doom Tower. This game mode introduced a whole world of new and terrifying bosses to slay. Sprawling over 120 levels, the Doom Tower brought exciting new challenges for seasoned players. As a high-level collection RPG, Raid started with hundreds of unique characters and bosses, but that didn't stop them from adding more and more new champions. The game designers must have had a field day creating these amazing characters. Just check out those sketches. They're amazing. And if adding new characters wasn't enough, last year Raid added a whole new faction. The Shadowkin are a tribe of warriors from the Far East, recently liberated from the reign of evil. But that doesn't mean they're the good guys either. For me, they're one of the coolest looking factions in the game. And of course, no review could end without addressing the newest and biggest addition to Raid. I'm talking about the Hydra clan boss. It's without a doubt the biggest, baddest, and scariest boss to ever set foot in Telleria. Although I'm not sure that Hydras even have feet. This monster has multiple heads, each with a different ability, and requires a different strategy to destroy. But here's where it gets really challenging. Even if you manage to chop off one of the heads, another one grows back to replace it. It can be quite discouraging, but on the other hand, this boss gives some of the best artifacts in the game. Honestly, I can keep going on and on about Raid Shadow Legends. It's really the perfect game for all player types. You can take it easy and play casually, but you can also dive in for hours and have an amazing time. No wonder they're celebrating 3 years, and I'm sure they'll be here for many more to come. I invite you all to join the party and download Raid Shadow Legends at the link in the description below. There's a lot to love about the game. Want the best weekly rewards? Join a clan and fight the clan boss. You can take your champion around, summon other champions at the tavern, and look through the best champions in the other factions to find the ultimate challenge. And there's a ton happening in Raid this month. They've got special events every single day, including an entirely new event for the summer solstice. It's called the Path of Light, and you'll be able to explore 3 branching paths to get the rewards you want most. On top of that, there's some awesome new champions coming out and a set of skins for the amazing Trunda Gilt Mallet. They look amazing, and I can't wait to get my hands on them. But wait, there's more. Raid's currently running a special Deliana Chase event where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction, just by logging in. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 20th, and you get Deliana for free. That's it. Deliana is one of the strongest support champions in the entire game and can help you carry your team to get past many of Raid's tougher challenges. You don't want to miss her. This really is the best time to try Raid, and if you click on the link in the description below or you use this QR code, you'll get more than $30 in unique bonuses in the game. We're talking a free epic champion, Aina, 200,000 in silver, 1 energy refill, an XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. The gifts keep coming. All new players, listen up. Once you're in the game, just enter the promo code MyDeliana to get your hands on everything. Simple. Get 50 XP brews to instantly get your legendary hero Deliana to max level 50, as well as a ton of silver. So be sure to check out Raid now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki. But let's talk about the future market for some of our favorite cars. As somebody who's been making money on cars before it was so easy, seeing what's happened over the last few months and really the last couple of years has been a little bit hard to wrap my head around. But what I've definitely seen is that it all started with the truly rare cars. And that started before COVID happened. In fact, kind of in the first few months of the shutdown, there were some great deals to be had. A lot of assets dropped. And that's always what you'll see in luxury asset classes. So if you're thinking about vacation homes and exotic cars and boats and watches and things like that, they will sort of be exaggerating the results of the economy at large. So for instance, in 2008 and 2009, as we saw the economy dip, the losses in value in exotic cars were certainly greater because those are the first things that people stop paying for. Now, what's a little bit different now than what we saw in the precipitating years leading up to the recession of 2008 and 9 is that the market for luxury assets is not nearly as leveraged as it was back then. Obviously, in the time back then, 2006 and 7, you could get stated income loans with no income verification for exotic cars. That's how 20-year-old me bought my first Lamborghini, and that's what became the rental car company. And so that was a very, very strange time, and everybody was buying a bunch of rental properties and things like that. And while we do see a lot of that happening today, it's not nearly as, let's say, financially reckless as we saw back then. So while certainly there are a lot of financed exotic cars, it's not necessarily something that we're going to see them being repossessed immediately because a lot of people still have great equity positions. Now, as we start to see that reverse, it's more of a liability. But again, I don't think that's as much of a risk factor as we had 10, 15 years ago. So as we saw the really rare cars, the special Countaches, special Diablos, special Mercies, special Ferraris, special McLarens, things like that start to climb, we saw a lot of other things sort of ride the coattails in. So for instance, as GT3 RSs became valuable, regular 911s became really valuable. And today we look at an exotic car market and really a sports car market landscape that has some things that really make you scratch your head. People are paying over MSRP for almost every kind of sports car out there. And while certainly there have been a lot of cars that sold over sticker, the idea of just that widespread of markups at dealers on brand new cars is crazy. Beyond that, cars that are holding insane residual values 5, 6, even 7 years down the road is nuts. I mean, today for a 7-year-old 2015 Lamborghini Huracan, you're gonna pay more than we were buying them back on trade when they were a year old. That doesn't make an awful lot of sense. And when, as we've talked about, in the aggregate, cars depreciate about 1% a month, that hasn't been happening for now a couple of years. And so when we think about what's going to happen when the chip shortages start to end, inventory levels catch up, discounts, as is typical, happen at new car dealers, what is that going to do to the used car market? It's pretty catastrophic. In general, we'll return to that level of a market reality. We're not expecting them to make a whole lot fewer new cars forever. All the companies are profitable, so that's a good incentive to them to not flood the market back and overwork their dealerships and things like that. But I think as we see most cars becoming generally available at a normal, 5 to 10% off MSRP market value, then a 20, 30% off MSRP 2-year trade value, then I think we're going to start to see things get a little bit more normal. But what does that mean for a really high-end car? I mean, certainly the idea that you're paying so close to MSRP for a used Huracan, a used McLaren, a used Porsche, not even a GT2, GT3, that won't stay that way. And so my advice, if you do own those cars, if you have your kind of standard range entry-level supercars, is sell them now and move into something as rare as you can find. It's always been a whole lot easier to manage your value in the most unique car that you could possibly have. That's always been my strategy. I can buy a really, really rare manual LP640, even whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but I could never afford to buy something like a brand new McLaren because the depreciation was just going to be too big of a deal. There's a lot of people that are now in the exotic car market that don't face that reality because it hasn't been a reality. It will come back, and that's where the value vulnerabilities really lie. And so my advice again is own always the rarest car that you possibly can because that's the easiest way to manage the value. Now, should you own a rare car that you didn't already want to own? No. Again, very rarely and never for longer than about 5 years do any cars beat the stock market. Now, as the stock market plummets over the last 90 days or so, yes, all cars are beating the stock market, but we don't expect that to persist terribly long. So the cars that I believe will maintain really high values and potentially not even lose anything if the economy tapers off a good bit is the ones that you would not really expect to come up for sale. The cars like rare manual V12 Lamborghinis, the cars like really significant Ferraris, really significant Porsches, things like that, you expect they're generally with collectors or owners that want to own them for a long time. So the cars that you wouldn't expect to go on AutoTempest and find 200 of are always going to be the best ones to target. And when you think about rarity, there's obviously kind of tiers to it. I mean, if there's 10 manual LP640 Roadsters, that is ultra rare. That's beyond 250 GTO numbers. But at the end of the day, anything that there's under 500 of are proper rare cars, and you can generally count on it. Less than 1,000, that's really rare. You think about most of the special Ferraris, they're going to be 500 to 1,000 units. Those tend to do exceptionally well over time. The rare Porsches, Ford GTs, things like that are not that rare. 5,000 or so of them. They're going to do well. They're going to do better than 20,000 Huracans, but they're not going to do as well as some of the cars that are even more rare. You also want to watch out for cars that get too commoditized. So something like, for example, a 2005 and 2006 Ford GT. They're thought of as very much a blue chip car, but because almost all of them are the same 5 or so colors, they kind of move in the aggregate. And so a lot of them are really low miles. Apart from a few outliers, generally they're all worth about the same money. And we remember when it was $250, $350, and $450. And so again, if they move, they're all going to move together. If you have cars that are much more disparate, either in condition or spec or whatever, then you have the chance to always outperform the market wherever it is at the time. So it begs the question a bit as we look at the current state of the automotive economy. Are dealers behaving properly? Is it okay for them to adjust prices and add on all these things and be totally inflexible in negotiations? And the answer is yes, of course it is. This is capitalism. This is the way markets ought to work. Values are driven by supply and demand. Right now, there's considerably more demand than supply, and we see values constantly going up. On a percentage basis, is it alarming? Of course it is. And does it make us worry that whatever money we have is worth a whole lot less? Of course it does, because we have a whole lot less buying power today than we had a few years ago. Now, the other things to look at are the cars that didn't go up in value nearly as much. There are certainly cars that have doubled or even tripled in value over the last 2 or 3 years, and those are exciting and there's great momentum there, but that momentum can easily reverse if the general momentum reverses. A car that has not exploded in value, like a lot of the 80s and 90s significant cars, those in general, over the last 2 years, are about flat to maybe 10-20% up. If you take the cars that you've doubled in value and buy the cars that have gone up in value a little bit less, in general, your money will be safer. So the verdict is always buy rare, buy special, buy stuff that's really cool, but ultimately just buy what you want. If you want to make money, put it somewhere other than cars. Right now, certainly a lot of people walk into Cars and Coffee talking about their great flip or how much they've made on some car, and that's always been part of the culture. But again, don't buy cars just to flip and just to make money. If it happens, it's wonderful. They are not the world's most efficient and ideal investment. They're just the most fun.